Today is the 10th of September 1977, and Bruce McLennan's my name, and I'm talking to Auntie Letitia Beer, Letty Beer.
Letty Beer, no. Letitia Lucia.
My aunt by marriage.
By marriage.
Auntie Let, when were you born?
The 9th of the 10th, 1891.
1891. Whereabouts?
In Wellington, New Zealand.
Why were you in Wellington, New Zealand?
My mother went out with her husband to make money, but he got ill and died. And then my mother married my father. My father visited New Zealand from Hamburg.
Your father was Gustav Beer.
Gustav William.
Gustav William. What was your mother's name?
Letitia Lucia. Don't know the other.
You don't know her maiden name?
Nobody ever knows.
But
I think she was on Mrs. Rance, and he died.
So
she'd be Mrs. Rance, wouldn't she?
Gustav was her second husband then.
And Gustav was her second husband. Gustav
Did
William
she have any
Beer.
children by her first
Yes,
husband? Did you
both deceased, yet I knew them. One was called Bill Rance, and the other was called Charlie Rance, but they're both deceased.
They were in Melbourne?
Yes.
Where was your mother and father married? In Melbourne?
No, my real mother was married in New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand.
Wellington, New Zealand. And so.
But I don't know the year.
So actually, your mother, Letitia,
she was a widow.
And a New Zealander too.
No, she originally came from Leeds in England.
Leeds in England. And Gustav had gone over to...
Gustav had gone from Hamburg and landed in New Zealand, and that was as far as he got. And he met my mother.
Didn't he come out with his father and brother to Melbourne?
No, he came out by himself.
First time?
Yes. And then his father did not hear from him for 12 months. So his father packed up and went out to New Zealand to find him. And he found him. The authorities directed him. And he was married and had a little boy, which was Ernest Beer. That was the eldest boy, my eldest brother.
Oh, I see, yeah. But I thought Gustav was your father.
Yes, Gustav was my father.
Yeah.
And Ernest was his firstborn son.
Oh, Ernest was his firstborn son?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when he left Germany and went out to find, his father went out to find him. He found him married. Yes, to find Gustav. He found him married.
Well, didn't Ernest have a shop in Swansea Street?
He did later.
Later?
Yeah, he left New Zealand then when he found that his son was married and with his child. He left there and he went to Melbourne. And he opened a place in Swansea Street, and he had a boot shop, and he did an import and export business to Germany, overseas.
Well, one story Mutta tells is that Gustav actually was born here in Melbourne.
He was. Gustav was born here in Melbourne, there in that Swansea Street place.
Yes, yes.
That's right.
But why would Ernst be looking for him?
Oh, grandfather went out from Hamburg. That was before he was ever married. He went out from Hamburg and looked for him there, you see. This was when he was only, yeah, he was only 19 when he left Hamburg.
That's Gustav.
Yeah, that's the Ernest, the grandfather.
Yes, yeah.
Well, then grandfather didn't hear from him for over 12 months. He couldn't make it out.
Yes.
So, of course, he went out to New Zealand to find out where he was. And the authorities directed him to this address, and he found him married. And he had this son, Ernst, named after him, the grandfather.
Well, in that family, Ernst was not one of your brothers. This youngest.
This young Ernst was my eldest brother, that's right.
He was your eldest
Yes.
brother.
He was really 10 years older than I was. He was my eldest brother. He was the firstborn. It's quite right. He was the firstborn. He was born there in Wellington.
I had him born in 1883 in Wellington. That would be about right.
That'd be about right.
And then there was a record of a Josephine, but you don't remember.
I don't know. She must have died first. I've never ever heard of her. And these boys
And
never
Frank.
mentioned her. Frank.
You knew Frank?
I knew Frank and I knew Gus. But they were all deceased.
And they lived in New Zealand?
Only a short time, because my mother died, and then they were, I understand, taken to my grandfather's. Oh yes, my grandfather had a land up in Lilydale, so he took them up there.
Lilydale in Melbourne.
Yes.
That's your
Not
grandfather?
far from Dame Melba's present.
Yes. Near Coombe Cottage.
Yeah, not far from there.
Coldstream.
That's right. That's
Yes.
where he was, and that's where these boys.
That's
lived.
Ernst you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right, and he took those boys onto his farm because the mother had died.
He was running a farm then, was he?
Yes, he had this land there.
What, he'd given up
Lilydale.
the boot
Oh, he hadn't
factory?
started that yet.
Oh, I see. He
That
did
was after he finished
later.
that and
Yes.
later.
Yes. You were a twin,
I was a twin.
and your twin...
I had a
your
twin brother.
Jack.
Jack, that's right.
Yeah. What happened to him?
He went to the war.
That's the 1914-18 war.
He interfered with his age and put it on because he didn't ask his father's permission. So he just put his age on and enlisted, and they took him. And that was 1914 war.
Yes.
And he was in hospital in London. It was very bad. He used to be in the Red Cross. And then when he did get back, he died suddenly.
He did come back to Australia.
He got back to Australia and died. I think he died in Rutherglen. I think that was the name of the place.
Rutherglen in Victoria.
I think that was, and I'm not sure about that.
Well, Shelley talks about Gustav as a grandfather going up to Rutherglen, I think, on holidays and that type of thing. Would that be to visit a relative up there?
Oh, I think he only went once
Did he?
to find out what he could about the twin. I think that was the only time I know that he went.
You don't know why
I think that's
your
the
brother
only
Jack
time.
was up in Rutherglen?
Oh, I think he married and
He
had
was
some
married,
work
was he?
there. He married and had some work there.
Well, he could have had a family up there, could he?
Oh yes, he had. I know he had a girl, but I don't know what her name was or what happened. I didn't meet them, you see.
You never had anything to do
I
with him at all?
didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't have any contact. You see, I was busy.
When your father Gustav remarried, that was in New Zealand?
Oh no, he remarried from Frida Francisca in Melbourne. He met her in Melbourne.
In Melbourne?
Yes.
Well, I understand he was a fireman in Dunedin.
Oh, that was when in the early days of when he married my mother.
Yes.
Yeah. He was a professional retoucher as well. And that's a retoucher in the photography.
Photographer, yes, yeah.
He was in that line, and then he did this other business, fireman. But that's what his line was, professional retouch and photography.
Well, when he came back to Melbourne, how many came back with him? How many children?
Oh, I think he just went to the boys, Ernest and Frank and Gus. I think he just took them up to the farm.
And what about you? Did you go too?
No, we were left. We used to call her Auntie. I don't know her name.
When you say we, who was that?
My twin brother.
Oh, Jack and...
yeah. Jack and Letty.
You were left here?
Tisha, Lucia. We stayed in New Zealand. We didn't come over to...
It could have been a relation of your mother.
My mother.
Yes.
We didn't get over to Melbourne until we were the age of 9.
Oh, yes, yeah. And by that time, your father married again?
Yes.
Yeah.
And...
where was he living then?
in Toorak Road, South Yarra. And then they came down to the ship and collected us.
And there were 3 children born of that next marriage?
Oh, the next marriage. Yes. And that mother died early in life. And I brought them up. I was left with them.
How old would you be when she died?
I would be about 13.
13?
See, I was 9. Yes, I'd be about 13 when Frida Francisca was born. I'd be about 13.
Yeah. And what do you remember of New Zealand? Anything you remember of New Zealand at all?
No, I don't remember that.
What do you remember then of South Yarra where you...
Oh, yes. Well, you see, I lived in South Yarra for a while. You see, they had this bakery business, and I used to have the children, and Frida Francisca was in that business, you see, and she had a brother of hers, and they were partners with my father. Yeah, George Haas and my father. And mother, they were partners in the business.
There's 3 partners in it?
It was Frida Francisca and my father and George Haas.
George wasn't married?
Not at that time.
Not at that time.
But he died. He did marry after his sister died.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He married then.
And your job was to look after the family at that stage?
Yeah, at that stage, yes. And as soon as they were able to get out and get jobs for themselves, then I started. And my Uncle Louis, my father's brother, he used to teach the gymnastic work at Melbourne Grammar. So he taught me all my foundation work. And then I used to go and get lessons, and then I think I was about 21 and I started teaching. And then from then on I started getting schools just from recommendations from the first one and the next and the next. Then I eventually had all the leading Roman Catholic colleges and the Church of England grammar schools. I taught them all. And then I had Bible classes in the evening for ladies and young girls.
Whereabouts was this?
Well, the night classes were mostly at St John's Church of England, Finch Street, Malvern. That particular class, they won a lot of prizes at South Street competitions. South Street Ballarat, you know, where they had competitions. Well, I put on a piece of work one year, and they won 100 out of 100 for that particular piece of work, which I made myself.
Well, have you got medals and these sort of things?
Oh yes, I had a lot of medals from when I was young, but I got rid of them all. They've all gone.
Got rid of them all?
Yeah. Yeah, when the things, I had a lot of gold medals. When things were bad and we were all on the door, I sold them. I thought there was no good them lying about here like this, I might as well sell them.
Yeah.
So I turned them into some money. I'd like cups and medals and so what was the good of keeping them to go rusty?
What do you remember of your Uncle Louis?
Oh, he was a marvellous man because he was a very thorough man, and he was the one that used to teach me. He gave me all my good grounding and foundation in work, and he used to always say to me, now always remember, Letty, these two things, C sharp and B natural. I always remember him saying that to me because he used to have me for lessons regularly, and then he used to round up every child that was around the neighbourhood, and I used to have to drill them. That's where I first learned to get my experience of handling them children.
Was he born in Australia?
Yes, they were both born. My father and Uncle Louis were both born in that place in Melbourne.
In Swanston Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only had those two.
Then they went back to Germany to...
Then they went back after they were about, I think they might have been 10. They had a grounding of English here, and then grandfather took them to Germany, and they were in the university there. And grandmother was very keen for him to be a doctor. But he didn't carry on with it. My father, he left very suddenly.
He didn't finish his degree?
He didn't, and came out here.
What did Louis do?
Louis finished up by coming out and getting himself married too, but he ran a jeweler's shop.
But what did he learn what course was he doing at the university in Hamburg?
I think he stuck on to my line, the gymnastic work. I think that was as far as I know.
Sort of physical education.
Yeah. And then he was teaching.
He didn't qualify.
He was teaching.